Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now.
And he took my cheeks and he's like, you have so much energy. And he was like, you need to harness your energy. And I was
What's happening? Welcome to Hyphenate with me, your host, Randy Randall, on this 11th day of April, 2024. It is my honor today to welcome the one and only Mr. Devon Williams. Now, Devon and I go back a long ways, and you will hear the origins of our friendship and our stories. But suffice it to say, we are older now than when we first met, and our lives have become more interesting, but also more separate and more diverse. Devon currently is residing overseas in a European country with his European wife and European children, and I still am here in Los Angeles. But it was a treat to get to catch up with Devon. I hadn't seen him. I think last time I saw him, he had come back to LA for some reason, but had set up a show. He was kind enough to ask me to play on a bill of music with him and friends at the great Permanent Records Roadhouse. Oh gosh, maybe that was a year ago. Maybe that was 5 years ago. I don't know. Could have had something to do with the pandemic. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. I don't even remember. But it seemed like just the other day. But it also now, as we've all understood, could be years, days, years, months, weeks. Who knows? It's all there. That's why I've been making an effort to say what day it is when the podcast starts. It helps glue me into some sort of sense of relevant time frame on the larger annual calendar scale of things. So, yeah, I want to thank everybody for joining me here. And this conversation is really funny and weird, and I think you get a sense of Devon's unique personality and his early rise to fame and his subsequently shunning of said teenage, rock and roll dreams from his first band, Oscar, and then his maturing into, interesting grown-up singer-songwriter as well. But I always thought that Devon should really, be some kind of like personality. It seemed like he was like, looked over in the Freaks and Geeks realm, or of some kind of like stand-up comedian, actor, SNL type of person. I feel like there was some audition or some other sliding doors moment where he picked up a guitar instead of going onto some audition. I don't think we talked about this in the interview, but I remember at some point when we were both working at Amoeba Records here in LA, and there would be people out front that would be offering like, oh, go see a preview of a movie, and there was some Will Ferrell movie, and we both went out and got tickets to it. And I remember it was one of the funniest things that I ever laughed at. It was an early screening of Anchorman without any kind of context or setup for what we were about to see. It was just some Will Ferrell movie. And I remember he and I and a few other friends went. It was in the middle of the day somewhere in a screening room on Wilshire, and almost like peed my pants just laughing so hard at this movie. And I always kind of put Devon in that Will Ferrell sort of like mold of just hilarious, and always made me laugh. So that's the spirit that I go into this interview with, of catching up with an old friend who now lives far across the big blue sea, and just laughing, but also getting to kind of know each other better too, because I feel like for all the laughing and bullshitting we did over our many years of being friends, I don't think we ever really talked about growing up or all these other kind of questions. So, thank you, Devon, for being on. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I will see you after the interview. Mr. Devon Williams, thank you so much for joining me on the pod. How you doing?
Good. Is it blur? I just noticed that it's like really blurry, but
it's fine. It's a mostly audio medium.
Yeah. You look great, though.
Oh,
you look clear.
Thanks. I don't feel clear. I didn't brush my teeth this morning. I had to take two kids to school and just ran out of the house.
It's probably like the host of the podcast has like the nicest camera and microphones, and then like, yeah,
No. Well, I mean, I do this several times. I think this is maybe
yeah.
the eighth one I've done this week. So, at some point I do.
Uh, you have
But
to upgrade.
I have not upgraded the camera. I would like to. I'd like to get a nice ring light. I've seen professionals do this, and it's like, they have like the 3 circles in their eyes. They look like,
Yeah,
very. I think maybe people even put makeup on. I have noticed
yeah,
the beanie does take off some of the glare from my 5 head, my aging
yeah.
hairline. The beanie does help. That's about as much
That
production
looks good.
as I get in terms of the
Yeah.
visuals. But how are you doing? Where are you coming from? Tell me a little bit about where you are in the world.
Yeah, so I'm in Copenhagen now. We live me and my family live in Denmark now. And we used to live in LA. That's how I know you.
Yes, yeah, we both lived in
Because
LA.
we used to work at we worked at Amoeba together. That's how we know each other.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you tell people how we know each other?
Well, I first met you.
You don't remember. You actually don't remember.
Probably
You're
not.
like, of course
No.
I remember.
You had a laugh that I think would carry through the giant warehouse that was Amoeba. I think that the temperature of that warehouse would change when you walked through. Everything was brighter and sunnier once you entered the building, and everyone loved you. And I was a newbie up in the mezzanine with the movie nerds, and you probably came by and said
Oh, that's
something
right, yeah.
something rude, and everyone laughed. And I said, "Who the fuck is this guy? What's going on here?"
He's like, yeah, we should beat him up. Yeah.
this is the cock of the walk. Like I gotta figure out what's going on with this dude. And then we played music together. I think that's usually the most social I am.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, you play guitar? Yeah, I play guitar. I think we went over to that house where Highland lived, where there were several Amoeba people that lived in this house in Hollywood, but they had a weird basement, and we jammed there. And
yeah.
I remember.
Actually,
that.
that was that. We also did a really fun with Paloma. We played at Mr. T's, like
yes,
Mr. T. And that was like we insisted that we not practice, and it was like all
was it?
So it was awesome.
We played in the same band.
Yeah, it was me, you, and Paloma. Maybe Kim.
Got it. Yes.
And we were just like, it must be all improvised.
Oh my god. Yeah, without really us being improvisers or any kind of jazz form. Exactly. It was kind of this like sad, mopey folk improviser trio. Yeah.
And now look at us now.
Hey, obviously it paid off. The world was that's what the world was asking for. We don't want simple dance music from good-looking teenagers. We want mopey folky stuff from men in their 20s.
Exactly.
So I met you at Amoeba. And then I also remember we played 3 solo sets with Alan at the A House. And I remember that being incredibly fun. That was an early show where we didn't play in the same band, but we all played our own songs. And that was fun. And it felt very Olympia to me. I think I had dreams and aspirations of playing soft acoustic guitars in living rooms in Olympia. Yeah. And so I was able to find that I was able to find parts of that in Los Angeles.
I think Alan brought that vibe to LA, for me at least.
Yeah. I think so. I think
but I also I don't have like Olympia dreams.
Okay.
But I think I know what you mean.
So I mean, my Olympia dreams were so bad. Well, so growing up, I liked Sonic Youth, Nirvana. I was a child of that age. Probably not dissimilar to your upbringing. But
right.
But I also I liked the loud guitar stuff. But then I also liked Bob Dylan and like Beck, or the kind of folky Becky sort of stuff. Like I saw Mountain Goats, John Darnielle play solo at a coffee shop in Pomona when I was a teenager. And I was like, this is so disarming. There's like the big brash, Thurston Moore squealy loud guitars. I like that. That's a lot of fun. But then just seeing one person with an acoustic guitar, like just hold everybody in rapture, like on their warbly voice and their strings that don't quite sound in tune. I loved that. There's something so disarming and naked about that I would.
Yeah. And it's also like, I think that's the thing that has like, if I had to say my taste in music, is like continue to be people with guitars who are just like either with a band or with a like solo who have strength in guitar, and whether that be like soft music or whatever.
But if it's got 6 strings on it, you're in.
or 12.
Oh,
I don't know,
wow.
Randy.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Let's not limit ourselves.
Yeah, let's
Um,
not limit ourselves.
yes. So, okay. Yeah. So that was, oh, but it's funny. So I'll take one last Olympia things. I don't think I've told this story on the pod, but
But I like
I've
it.
told it and very embarrassingly on tour many times. But before, so I started college in 99. I got through my first year, my freshman year in college, and I was very unhappy. I was, I think I was a very angry young man. But before I started my second year, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna drive my 15-year-old used car up the West Coast by myself. I have like 1 week before school starts. I'm just gonna go do this, and I brought a guitar with me, and I thought I would just play shows, and I didn't. I didn't have any songs
How
written.
old were you?
I would have to be 19.
That's really, yeah,
And
that's
and
cool.
I didn't have any songs. I didn't have any shows booked. I just knew where Olympia was. I kind of looked at it on a map, on probably printed out a map on MapQuest or something. I don't know if that was a thing.
Yeah.
But I just knew the 5
Yeah,
freeway
no.
was going to get you north. So I made it as far. I got to San Francisco and kind of parked on a corner and sort of had my guitar there and sort of like walked around with a guitar, sort of probably near Haight Ashbury sort of thing. And then kind of just was like,
And
wait.
then you're like, wait a minute, it's 1968, and I've,
No,
you know, quantum leap.
this was, yeah, probably 2000. This was probably August of 2000. And I was just waiting for something to happen, at least for me to start like singing like a songbird about hopping trains or
Mm.
living some kind of hobo life or something. I listened to nothing but Modest Mouse and the Makeup the whole way driving up there, and Quasi. I think I had 3 CDs with me. I had the Quasi, Makeup, and Modest Mouse, and I thought I would just start a life doing this, and then
That's awesome.
but that didn't happen. I didn't play any songs. I got scared. I
Yeah.
went and bought a sandwich for like $10, and that was all the money I
Did you
had.
play anywhere?
No, I did nothing. So I had this guitar, and then I
That's cool.
called my friend whose sister lived in Tiburon. So she was like
Mm.
married to a finance executive or something, and I said, I don't know what I'm doing up here, and I don't know where I'm going to stay. I don't know. This was a bad idea. I just drove 6 hours to San Francisco with no plan. And he's like, well, yeah, let me call my sister. You probably could stay with her. And he called me back on a payphone. This is even pre cell phones, and
Yeah,
he's like,
he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
no.
Or he's like, call me back in 5 minutes, and I'll give you her address if she says yes. And she said yes, and so I went and stayed there, and they had kids and did not really want me there, but they kind of let me stay in a guest room as long as I was quiet and gone in the morning very early. So I did that, and then I just went for a walk. I found some kind of like big park. It wasn't I don't know where it was. I just found like a woods, and I walked around for like 2 hours, and I thought, okay, this isn't going to work. But I had thought I was just going to drive and go to Portland, go to Olympia, just go to all these places, but with nothing. I think after that first day, I was very disheartened, and I had thought, oh, I need more of a plan. So I'm going to go ahead and go. I'm going to go to school,
It's
because I
funny.
almost thought I would like run away or something. Like I would just like wouldn't continue to do college.
Oh,
I thought my life would just start. I'd kickstart my life somehow on this road trip with an acoustic guitar and a backpack.
right. Like maybe you had heard. I mean, that's what Bob Dylan did, right?
I have no idea.
You'd heard that
Yeah,
he.
maybe. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Like, yeah, ride the rails, go somewhere, do something. You
Yeah.
become part of a folk scene. But it felt a lot scarier than I thought it would be. And I was only 19 and had no songs and didn't know anybody. So then I turned around. So I went on a long walk. Maybe I went to the deluxe skate store and like bought some skate shoes or something, and then came home and started college. But that
And then like nobody, you're like, hey guys, I was gone on a road trip, and they're
no
like,
one noticed.
they're like, you were gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No one cared. Where I just had this big existential 19-year-old kind of like creative movement to understand like I have to work harder than this. You can't just go to a place and become a thing. You have to do all the work. You have to prepare for something to happen.
That's
Yeah.
funny. I was just telling my daughter the other day. I was like, because we were talking about Def Leppard, and there was the song Photograph, and I was telling her about this road trip I did, because while I worked at Amoeba one day, here's the whole story. I was working at Amoeba, and I was like sitting, at home at night, and I saw a picture of someone I had gone to school with swimming with a dolphin, and I was like, why are they like swimming with dolphins in like some tropical place, and I'm like working at a record store? Like, I love record stores, but like I was like, there's got to be more to
Where are
life,
my
right?
dolphins?
Yeah, I'm like, where? And so I did go. I went the next day, and I gave my 2 weeks notice,
Wow.
and then like I didn't have a job, and then I was sort of subletting, and so I didn't have I gave up my apartment, gave up my job, and like I did the same thing. I was like, I'm gonna drive up the West Coast, and I did make it all the way up to Olympia, and I was like, seeing friends and family, and I didn't play any shows, but it was like It was really fun. It was really cool, and I really miss that about living in Denmark. I really miss the West Coast.
It's a magical
Yeah,
place north of
it
Los
is a magical
Angeles. It can
place.
get cool. But
Yeah.
the chair. Sorry I'll close my
Oh.
tab. I do have one. The cherry on that story is when the band. Eventually, I did join a band. We called it Wives, and it was a very noisy band, not a very folky band, but it's the noisier Thurston Moore side. And
Yeah.
we played at the Red House in a basement in this kind of famous punk house in Olympia.
Mm.
And then we slept on the floor that night of the house we played at, and I was drinking Olympia beer, on a floor with no mattress or just so, and I started crying because this was like my
You made it.
goal. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to play a show in Olympia, and I did it. I had just done it that night, so I think that was as far as that dream could go, and so I felt like I did achieve that dream. That it just took me 2 more years, and I had to join a weird band and do all that stuff. But it really did feel
You
like
had to have a song, yeah.
that was my dream. That was it. And so from there, anything else I've done in music, I think has kind of been a cherry, been extra innings, because that was really as far as I could imagine, is playing a show in Olympia. that was my teenage dream, and that happened.
Interesting.
And then over the years, and I would say maybe I could have bigger dreams than that, but I didn't really. But I think my childhood dream was really just to do that. Yeah.
You probably shouldn't tell Dean that was like the cherry on top, and that everything else after that was bad.
No, there was many good things.
I will say
I didn't really know. I didn't have a plan. I didn't really know what that was supposed to happen after that. I didn't. Again, much like I'm short-sighted in those regards. Yeah.
I think I'm not as like when we play, like one of the first shows we played in Olympia, we were playing. Jessica was in the band, and she's very connected to Olympia, and so I think we were playing, and then at the end of the set, like I started playing "Come As You Are," because in my mind I was like, I'm gonna
connect with these people. This is one of hometown heroes.
Well, I think I was just like, I'm gonna be so dumb.
Yeah.
And she was like really embarrassed.
Aww.
She was like, yeah.
Well, Toby was there. Devon, Toby used to date her, and he Kathy and Hannah wrote "Smells Like Teen Spirit" on their wall, and Toby saw you play that song. It's so embarrassing.
Randy, what if Jessica's listening? She's gonna kill us.
Oh no! Well, Jessica, please come on the show. I mean, if anybody's a multi-hyphenate, I think Miss Jespelita would be the multi hyphenate of a million amazing bands and careers and lives. I would love for Jessica to come and tell her side of the story about why it was so embarrassing, and that I was wrong, that it was embarrassing because Toby was standing there and shooting daggers at this boy playing Nirvana songs in front of her.
This dumb idiot playing Nirvana. This dumb more. Amoeba was really fun. I think it's funny that you said that I was really loud, because I probably was. And I remember one of the owners came to me one day. He was one of the ones that got bought out because he was inappropriate or whatever.
The coked up werewolf? No, I think he took over the place. I think the coked up werewolf runs it.
Oh no, but he's nice. It was another one that was it's another one that was sketchy.
Okay.
And he came up to me and he was like, because I was climbing a pole, and he was
apropos of nothing.
Yeah, and he was like, hey, come here, and he took me aside, and he actually grabbed. I was 21 or 20, and he took my cheeks, and he's like, you have so much energy, and he was like, you need to harness your energy, and I was like, okay, and I didn't get what that means, but now
it's meant to grab his pants, meant to put your hand down his pants, or harness his energy.
He's like, but that was fun. Amoeba was so fun.
Oh, it was crazy. That was real post college world for me. I just graduated college, and then I went to the real school of music and people, and that was a big part of my education.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely my music education, and it's crazy. I think about it all the time. I love going to record stores. I go to record stores all the time, and I miss.
It felt like we had a class, and then just in the same way you have Amoeba 2023 or Amoeba, you graduated from a certain university. And I feel like we had a group of people there. Maybe now it's 10 to 20 people that were all. I feel like lifelong friends if I ever see them. I'm always like, Amoeba, we did it. We were there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like there was a type of person that they were hiring at that time too. That was they were hiring a lot of musicians, And then they I think they kind of were like, hey, we need to stop doing that because they like go away a long time. Like I remember you would go away on tour a lot and they'd be like, Randy, the DVDs need to get filed. You can't be
There is a used copy of Rambo 3 in the back that really needs to be
yeah,
out on the floor right now. We are
yeah,
paying you above minimum
yeah,
wage, which is nice, and we give
yeah.
you dental insurance, which again is also very nice. But
Again, I'm telling you, it's a great
they
job.
were great. But I do think,
Um,
oh, so the nicest way they did that is I think the straw that broke the camel's back was this like 6-week tour I was trying to go on. And I think they were very nice. And they said, you should really just follow your dreams. I'm like, thank you.
oh,
That's
nice.
what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm really working hard at it. Like, we can tell you spend a lot of time on this music thing and you should just go ahead and do that. I'm like, okay. So yeah, when I get back from this tour, I can, they're like,
They're
no,
like,
no, no, you should just, when you get back from the tour,
follow your dream.
you should just keep touring. You should just keep doing that because it
Keep,
sounds like
yeah,
that's what you want to do. It's like, oh wait, so I won't have a job. I shouldn't come work here when I get back. They're like, no,
like,
no, you shouldn't do
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that. We're
I
good.
mean,
And they gave me enough. And I was trying to be professional as I could. As things would book, I would tell them. And they were so I was still like 3 months ahead of time. So then I got my substitute teaching credential in that time that I knew 3 months leading
mm,
up to the tour. And so by the time I did the tour, I could come back and start subbing
mm,
right away. So it all worked out. But thought that was the nicest way of saying like you've been promoted to customer. Like you.
I don't. Yeah. Speaking of teaching, I don't know if you remember, but I also like you had been a teacher for a while, and I had entered a teaching program, um, and I was at Cal State LA,
Oh,
and
cool.
it was just like I would go and like sit in on classes and stuff in high school, and I just like was not into it, Um, I just don't think I could get like I just don't think I could like command a room in that way. And I remember it was my second year of this program, and one of the teachers was like, the first day of class, he was like, "Look, we all have our dreams.
Oh.
One time I had this, well, yeah, one time I had this dream of being like a BMX rider, and like, but that was just a dream. So anyway, now I'm a teacher, and like I quit. I was like, that is really depressing. And even if even if my dreams don't come true, like at least I didn't say like I gave up my dream to be a teacher.
Anyway, kids, follow your dreams. Crack open the books. Here we go. let me
Yeah,
inspire you. Oh,
it was a bummer.
it's hard, man. It is a
Yeah,
very hard job, and especially I think as rambunctious 20-year-olds, it's not necessarily the place we should not be shaping young people's minds and guiding them. I don't
yeah,
know if we could guide ourselves, let alone
yeah,
be in
exactly.
charge of young people. But I do have to say, my teenage dream of being in a band and playing shows was just that. That was the dream. Speaking of dreams, but
Mm.
you lived this dream.
Oh, nice
You
segue.
were a teenage rock star.
Nice segue.
In real life, your
No,
dream
no.
came true.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I wasn't a rock star,
You were,
but
yeah. Well, tell me, who were you?
I mean,
What was it? What was it?
I am me. No, yeah, I was in a punk band, and then a friend of mine at the time, I was like 16, and a friend of mine worked at Epitaph, and he gave it, he played our demo for Andy, who was like the interim president at Epitaph, because Brett Gurewitz, who was like the founding guy, who I've never met, he was out, and so Andy had stepped in, and so Andy signed us, and I think he got like a little flack for it because I think he wasn't like a punk. He wasn't like a punk. Andy's not a punk. He was like he also signed Tom Waits. Like I think he signed us, Tom Waits, and like some other punk band.
Sounds brilliant. Sounds like he was a guy that knew how to make money, or
Yeah.
at least had artistic intention.
Yeah, and so he was really cool. I mean, I have to say, I was actually thinking about the other day when on our first tour for Epitaph, they like one of the employees there. His name's Dave Gomez. He also worked at Amoeba. He like before I went on tour, he was like, "Here's a Nick Drake CD," and I was like 17 or 18, and
Wow.
I was like, "What is this?" And it like changed the whole like tour for me. Like I still listen to Nick Drake and think about like driving through the middle of nowhere and like, and when we got signed, he sent me like a Replacements record, a Modern Lovers record, like Bob Dylan, like they're just like really like musically smart
This is
people.
like putting heroin in a young person's hands. You know, I don't know if they knew what they were doing.
No,
A 16-year-old punk singer, like, hey, that sounds great, but I'm going to go ahead and let you know what happens after punk. It's called The Replacements, and you know, I'm going to let you
no.
know
What
what,
it would
1989 did. I know you're still kind of playing 1985 Descendants riffs, but like, let me let you. I'm just going to let you know there was a thing called college rock in the 80s. Here you go.
I mean, better that than they were like, check out the new like Pennywise record or whatever, or
or
like
the metal crossover. Here, have you ever heard Municipal Waste?
bad.
Or no, I don't know, whatever
Yeah,
the what's the Florida punk bands? Yeah,
I have no.
it's okay.
All I know
Doesn't
is
matter.
no, but they yeah, and so when they signed us, I think they like unintentionally did some. They like set me up for failure because they had us like they signed us and then they had us open up for this band No Effects, who was like a big Epitaph band.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they knew what they're doing because like I like just talk shit about No Effects
On stage.
and like yeah like right it was No Effects and us at the house. It was like the House of Blues in like 1998 or whatever,
Oh God,
and like I talk shit and like
did their fans
people
spit at
like
you and throw beers?
yeah
Yeah.
yeah they hated me and so we were when our first record came out we were called and our bio was like the most hated band on Epitaph.
That's
And
which
then
sounds impressive, but if you think about who their bands were at the time, I don't know.
I mean,
It's hard.
it is impressive. I'm proud to be,
Yeah.
but I was,
Well,
but
when the
anyway,
Offspring is the most celebrated band, that sort of puts you in good company to be the hated band, I guess. Because of the most liked band on Epitaph would mean you sound like garbage or something.
the band Garbage,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
no, that'd be interesting. But wait, okay. But I'm curious. So, where did you grow up, and how did music sort of hit you? What's that story before the punk band begins?
I think, well, I grew up in Westchester, which is right by the LAX airport, which is like by Culver City.
Yep.
It's right by LMU, like right where KXLU is. And so, I mean, my music story is not really that interesting. Like, I just like watched MTV and thought that like Poison and Guns N' Roses were cool, and so I wanted a guitar, and then I got a guitar, and then sort of like taught myself to play through like learning other people's songs, and then I was like, I could do that, and then I wrote a song or so. Then I started writing songs, and then I put a band together. It's like really,
Okay. That was the.
it's really the story of everyone.
And then, but then
Um,
the punk band. What was? I mean, was there a specific kind of Descendants sort of vibe you had, or a Ramones thing, or what? Why a punk band? Only because the three chords worked, or what was the feeling? Were you related to any kind of punk sort of thing that was happening? Were all the friends in punk bands? Why a punk band?
no, I mean, like Westchester didn't really have like a scene. Like I had like two really good friends, or like three, and we just like hung out together all the time. So I think I was a little what's the word, insular. Like I was like I just like had my musical dreams like you. But I think like like if you know me, like
Yeah.
my behavior, like my head is like a little all over the place, and so I think playing things like a little fast, like I think it kept up with my head, you know.
Yeah.
And I could still I still like can sense like sometimes it feels much better to like, you know, pick fast than it does to pick slow or whatever.
Oh, and the
And I
adrenaline
think
gets going when you're live. When you're on a stage, the songs all go up like 10 BPM anyway.
yeah, and I think like when you have an idea, for me, like if you have an idea, your head goes really fast, and I think that comes out in the and so I'm very excitable. And so, you know, I think that like fat up tempo music kind of spoke to me, and I think it kind of like it kind of drained out of me really fast. Like it only took like 2 albums before I was like, all right, I'm done with that. Like I wanted to do something else. And that's where it sort of I don't know. It all sort of like changed there.
But it sounds like your label experience was, because you guys were just kids, like they signed you and then they sort of said, here's the studio, here's the tour, here's the thing. Like they sort of they pimped you out, for better or worse saying. I mean, they
Well, actually,
put you to work
I,
in some ways.
nah. I mean, the guy that my friend Mike that helped get us signed, he had a studio, and so I've always, like, he's still a close friend of mine. So he had a studio, so we work with him. It was easy, and then touring was only sometimes like, hey, we're gonna put you on this tour, but it was much. It was like now I know I'm old because it was just like really much different back then. Like booking agents are back, we're gonna throw you on this tour with blah blah blah, and then there was like you were in like random magazines, like
Yeah,
it was yeah. So it like the machine worked back then.
but you weren't
For that label.
But you weren't driving a van. Like you guys had a tour manager. You had stuff like arranged for
No,
you.
no,
Like
no.
it wasn't like you three guys kind of being DIY playing punk basements or things. It was like, here is
No, we the first tour was like my first tour
Mhm.
was like a
bus.
they put us in a bus with like 3 other bands, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And then from there it was like the reality check of what touring is,
Yeah.
which was like a van, and that was like so fun, being in a van with just your friends and playing like small shows. Like,
Yeah.
I love that.
That felt a little bit more realistic than being on giant stages opening up for I don't know who.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's like something really crazy about like opening up a sold out show for a band and nobody knows who you are, and you're just like, especially if you're not very wise like me, and you just like say shit, and people are like, "Hey man, fuck you," and you're like,
There's barriers and security guards. They're keeping us apart.
No, there weren't. There weren't.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I think.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm sort of glad it happened, and then glad it ended.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to take your tour of Fat Mike's Punk Rock Museum in Las Vegas. I feel like that's I'm sure Fat Mike is still send you his Christmas card every year, and
Yeah,
looking forward to having you there.
Yeah, it's just as good as the Rock and Roll Museum in Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah. That's incredible. I know. We never really talked about. I think by the time I knew you at Amoeba, it felt like so. And we haven't not even said the name of the band. Is this the?
Oh, we should. Let's just not do that.
Okay. All right.
Let's just not.
So, but I was shocked to hear this whole backstory, and to me, it was like you won. That was great. That was like beyond anything I could ever imagine. Like you were in a band that toured in high school. But obviously me knowing nothing about that world, so it was funny. You sort of like had a form of attention at an early age. And then I think that sort of defined what you wanted to do moving forward, or sort of how to do it better, or what was that? What was the postscript to that? Like as the band broke up,
Yeah.
what did you take from it?
The postscript is like, I can do it on my own. Like I can just like keep doing, like I love playing music and writing music and like talking about music and stuff. So it didn't matter. Like it did come to a point where like Epitaph was like, okay, we're not going to put out your records anymore. And I was like, okay. And I don't think I understood at the time that that's like, they're a pretty big label, like with lots of distribution. And I kind of just was like, I said bye to that. And I think,
Was it over?
I think it didn't
was it because
bother me.
Was it because of the artistic content of the records, or was it because they weren't selling, or did they explain that to you, or what was your take on that? Like, do you feel like if you would have written 3-chord songs that sounded like Green Day or Sum 41, you could have kept going?
I think like I broke the band up, and then I was like, I'm gonna go to college, and I went to anyway.
Yeah,
I broke the band up, and then when I was like, I'm ready to put out an album, they were like, oh, I think there was a sense of like they thought I was a little flaky because I broke the band up in the middle of a tour. But then I think also it just didn't like.
Was Brett back in the picture then? Was it the sort of thing of like that guy had left, like one president left, and another one came back?
Maybe there. I think there might have been something like they were like, we didn't want to sign them anyway.
Right. You weren't invited to be on Now That's What I Call Punk Volume 7? Or no, what
No,
was it? Punkorama. Those were there.
punk
Like
around.
you never got to be on a Punkorama.
Oh, we
Oh,
did.
you did. Okay.
Those things like at the time, those things like pay you a lot of money. Like it's insane. Like there's like 22 bands on those, and you would get a check from those, and it's crazy. Not anymore, obviously,
Yeah,
because it's like
sure. It's all streaming. But I didn't even
yeah.
think about that. So you probably made money as a teenager, which is insane. Like not quite
Well,
child actor money, but like, you know.
no. Well, by the time we put out a record, I was 18, so
Okay.
it was
Got it.
because
Young adult money. Young adult.
yeah.
But that's great. Did you blow it all? Was there any kind of like crazy
I
things you
mean,
bought, like dumb stuff, like fancy guitars or cars?
I think I bought like a cool guitar, but it wasn't. It was just like a $600 guitar. No, I don't think I don't. I wasn't. I definitely wasn't smart with money, but I definitely like didn't like blow it. But I don't have it now.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't. I don't. I didn't save it.
That's so funny. Or not
But
so
yeah,
funny.
when
I just think, or
yeah.
just in the sense of like, yeah, I was like, I was going to college when I went to a nice school, so I felt there was a sense of like I saw people with money, but I felt so poor at that age, in the sense of like I
Mm,
was like putting myself through this fancy school, and I remember like having $5 to eat for the week, and like trying to figure out like on the like student jobs or
yeah.
whatever, I was like the library, computer, um, what do they call those places? Computer workshops, where just it was,
Oh yeah.
you'd go and use computers. Computer lab. It was a lab of
Oh
computers, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
A laboratory, a
computer
computer
lab. I
laboratory.
was the
Yep.
person that checked people in and out. I made sure that everybody was students using these, 1990s Dell desktops. But it paid minimum wage, and it was just part of your like
Yeah.
finance package. Like, cool, we'll give them a job and somewhere to sit and trip out. So from there, break up the band, but now are you more enthusiastic about writing music because you kind of saw what you didn't want to do? Was there that part of it of like, oh well, fuck these guys, I guess I'm just gonna write my own? Here's where I really feel like shot out of a cannon, or was it more disheartening? Or that's a lot to take on at that age. By 18, 19, it's like we've talked about. Like I had very little smarts in my head.
Yeah, I definitely don't have smarts. I don't think I like had a business plan. I think I just thought like it's hard to be specific because
Yeah.
it's just been so long. But like I remember thinking like there are so many like good songs, and if I ever wanted to write a song that was memorable or like what's the word? Not unforgettable, but like
Undeniable.
like yeah, or just like a song that lived. Like it's definitely, and I think I was wrong about this, but I was like, it's definitely not going to be the kind of songs that I was writing. And so I was like, I've just I wanted to be more in music. Like I wanted to just, it's hard to say, like I wanted to write I just wanted to write music that I loved there. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. That sounds reasonable.
But now, I mean, obviously now you look back at, some of your favorite music. Like I was listening to the Modern Lovers the other day, like, and they're just like, it's punk, and it's just like, I mean, it sounds stupid to say that, but it's like raw and it's real, and it's as long as music is honest, like then it is unforgettable. So I was sort of wrong about that, but
what's honest for you at the time changes. And I think that's what, I mean, obviously Jonathan Richman's a great example of that. Like he's on record making fun of the Modern Lovers, compared to what he would go on to do with his life.
right.
He crafted a very unique, honest, type of vaudevillian.
Oh, didn't we play with Jonathan Richman, you and I?
We did at a weird bar in Hillhurst. I think we bonded over Jonathan Richman a lot at that time. And Kiefer Sutherland was there, wasted in the front. Remember that?
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh my god! So well, yeah, we had a lot of fun. I think at that time I was really fond of drinking too much alcohol and going around in public, and I think you and I were able to do that simultaneously many times. That people would tell me stories about it the next day. I don't remember everything that happened, but somehow I was with you, and I would hear about stories the next day. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think I'm definitely not a heavy drinker like and act out.
Yeah.
I'm just an act outer. So I think like I'm just like I'm bad company. But I do have some funny stories about you, which I shouldn't
You
say on your
could if you
podcast.
wanted to. I definitely peed on someone's leg at the middle of a
Oh
backyard
yeah,
party while we were talking. I was like talking to somebody and then whipped my dick out and started
yeah,
peeing on somebody.
yeah.
Somehow I didn't get in a fight. Somehow I didn't get my ass kicked, which was amazing. That was the
I
art
think
of it.
because I think you sometimes like were like your response was like to be aloof. Like you were
Huh?
just like,
What?
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 Yeah. And I
I
think
don't
I
know
was
what you're
like,
talking about. How did that happen? I don't know.
yeah, I was like, oh, Randy just peed on someone's leg. I think I was like, is he okay?
No,
Like,
no, I was obviously in full blown outrageous, it's throes of addiction. But I did
yeah,
have fun. There was moments where it was fun. I think a lot of those times are still the fun times before
yeah,
throwing up on myself and passing out on a couch, alone. And falling asleep on your own
yeah,
vomit alone is like not as fun as being a goofball at a party in your 20s.
yeah. See what
You know?
happens when your Olympia dream comes true too fast? Then it's all like, woo.
No,
Yeah.
no. No. Well, yeah, and I think it's funny too because I remember when we were playing, and maybe this is just tangential, but I think what I've started to understand more about myself in the process, not only just doing this podcast, but just kind of some self reflection and thinking about those times was I assumed everybody was as ambitious as I was, or as like
Mm,
trying to like figure out like, well, you got to get everybody, you sell a bunch of tickets. That's the whole idea. You write songs or
mm,
something, but I was not good at playing music, or I wasn't good at like particularly like I didn't have a skill set that could do that, but I knew that's what the goal was. So it was like
mm.
I felt like I was like trying to. I understood like, are we all running the same marathon? We just all have like different abilities to do it. Like my ability's not very good, but aren't we all trying to get to this one place? I thought everybody who played music wanted to sell out the Hollywood Bowl.
Mm,
And I remember when we were
right.
playing, you were gracious enough to invite me to play in your band, to play, kind of side guitar, which I thought was really fun. And it challenged me as a musician to have to figure out how to invert chords or come up with a solo, which I'd never written, or do something,
Yeah.
play along
I
with
was just
another
like,
guitar.
do a solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a blues, I remember I had a blues scale I could play. You're like, yeah, that was great. I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
It's
that's a
like,
boost of confidence I'd never heard from anybody before about my mediocre lead guitar skills. But it was fun because we play, and then I was like, oh, and then there was fans that would come from, or people that were, I remember this one time we played in Pomona, and these kids were there like, we loved Devon's first band, and I was like, Devon, go talk to these people. They like you. You should go tell
mm.
them to come to more shows and buy merch or do something. And you were just like, oh God, no, I don't want anything to do with this.
I was like, I don't want to talk about
We're not going to
that.
sell at the Hollywood Bowl if you keep running away from your fans, Devon. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But it was also,
But
I
yeah, I
also didn't
mean,
know anything about anything. I was also just drunk and trying to just fumble around and think it was going to happen to me.
yeah, I mean, I definitely, I'm not like the type to, if someone is like, oh, I love that first record, I'm not going to be like, how dare you like that trash. But I mean, because I've obviously love all sorts of bad music, but I just think I'm just like, I'm not there.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that right now. Like, I'm
you're a
not,
different person. Times changed.
yeah. And I'm just like, I'm not doing that. And I'm not like talking about that. And I'm not, yeah. I even feel that way about like, a record I put out like 3 records ago. So, you know,
That's incredible though. I mean, I think it shows.
I don't think it's,
Well, just the commitment to where you're at now, in the sense of like growing or moving on, or you know what I mean, seeing things differently, and in the sense of like, well, no, this is what's really good. I feel like my
mm,
relationship to a back catalog is when I'm just blown away that I can say those words, that I have enough things to call it a
mm,
catalog. More than
yeah.
2 songs equals a catalog. But just in the sense of like, yeah, those were funny, goofy songs. Like I remember not playing very well and recording it and being very stoked. Like that was it
Yeah.
was hard to play for me at the time, those riffs, and then I would go on to play them hundreds of times. They'd get very much easier to play. But in the
Yeah.
sense of like, is
I
it a
think,
good song or not? Like, I don't know if any of these songs are good. Even the songs I'm writing now. Like I think my relationship with music is I don't play it because I think it's good. I play it because I can't really do anything else, in the sense that like it's
mm,
like breathing for me. Like I just sitting down with a guitar, it feels like a necessary thing. If I don't play guitar, it, at least in a series of weeks, I
mm,
I get grumpy and you get weird. I feel like I
yeah,
limp
yeah.
or something. I can't quite like the world's all
Yeah,
tilted
like
on the wrong side, and I play
yeah,
guitar and like, oh, okay, this is the world I live
yeah,
in.
give him some water. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the different I think a slight difference is when you do like words in music.
Mm.
And at least from my like perspective at the time, when you're like when you feel like you're, you know, bearing your soul, you know, obviously those feelings pass.
Oh, I see.
and so like and so I think you're a little like not I don't think embarrassed is the word, but you're just like, oh, like I overreacted. You know, it's anytime you acted impulsively and then you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't have pissed on that guy's leg. It's like
If
that.
somebody
Like
asked me to
my
piss on someone's leg today, I would like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. You're right.
Yeah, they
Nope.
would be like,
Yep.
I'm such a fan of you pissing on the leg. And you're like, oh, I'm not going to talk about the pissing on the leg.
Like, well, could you
So,
just like,
yeah.
hey, if we give you like $500, could you go piss on this guy's leg tonight? There'll be like,
Yeah.
like 5,000 people there. It'll be worth it. And like, I
Yeah.
don't know if this is wow. That is an interesting that paints a very clear picture of like the
Yeah.
things that you thought were good at the time and maybe impulsively in your youth were captured, and then you have to answer for those or reckon with those or talk about them
Yeah.
in a way that maybe
I,
isn't comfortable. I could understand that.
but the thing is, like, and I think the thing that connects like musically is like authenticity. And like, if you think about like Lou Reed or whatever,
Yeah.
who's such like a stream of consciousness writer that you're just like, oh, it's just, and his vocals are like imperfect. You're just like, oh, that's just, it's so honest. And so maybe like, yeah, like my old music is like, let's compare my old music to Lou Reed,
Why
but
not? That sounds like fun.
yeah, but I'm just saying like people are like, oh, that really bad like punk band who's like overly emoting some feeling. That's like, I connect with that feeling, and I can understand that.
Well,
But it's not for me.
I'm sure Lou Reed has songs about pissing on people's legs. It
I'm sure
feels like a very close Lou Reed song, or maybe even things more
I'm sure he
salacious than
does.
that. He was,
I'm sure he
yeah,
does.
yeah. But he would
I'm sure
assign
he
it to a
does.
character. He would say this character does that. I don't think he has a lot of
Yeah.
eyes. He has a lot of Lisas and Stephanies and Little Joes and lots of names of things. He just,
I mean, he just has like, yeah. I mean, some of his songs are just like so, like you could tell he just goes, this song is about this, and it's very focused and clear.
Waiting for Your Man. I guess there's an I in that.
Yeah.
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 That's
Nirvana. Yeah.
Does Nirvana have IMs in there? Is there a lot of IM?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Lots
really?
of IMs.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Um,
feel so disconnected from lyrics. I've written
mm,
lyrics and I
why is
they
that?
mean,
Why are you disconnected from?
I don't think they really mean anything. I'll sing somebody's lyrics. Like it's shocking. I think Pavement, I have these lyrics just tattooed onto my brain. As soon as the song starts, I'll just dribble them out like I'm peeing on someone's leg. They'll just come out of me. Like drunken
Yeah.
urine. But I just remember, and
Yeah.
same with Smith's lyrics. Like there's just things that are just like, oh yeah, but it's like almost feels like the song. It's just the song. It's the melody. It's the thing.
Mm.
But in terms of my own ability to write or express myself through lyrics, I quickly shrink or shrivel like some kind of I don't know, some piece of bacon that cooked too long in the pan. It just feels
Oh.
gross and weird. I'm like, that's how I feel about writing lyrics. So it's like, that's gross and weird. I don't like that.
Oh, weird.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
No, but you feel comfortable. You
Yeah.
feel, I guess, in the sense of like yeah. Well, you obviously you do. You have great songs and great lyrics.
I mean, I don't know if I feel comfortable, but I just feel like, I think it's not, I think it's like acceptable, to write a song and like write your feelings. And so I'm like, oh, okay, it's okay for me to share that but I really like, yeah, I don't know how to explain that, but I think it really does help me to write a song, like in the same way that you feel like you need to play guitar.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it. And then you're like, oh, I'm free.
That's amazing.
But I think,
I can't imagine
I don't know what
having
that
a
is.
feeling and then wanting. They're not saying this is bad or anything. But it's funny the
Yeah.
mechanics, right, of it all. Of like I'm feeling a thing right now. I'm really say I'm happy. Something just happened. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna write a song about it. Or more likely now, I'm bummed. This is
Yeah.
really, I'm really in a place I'm hurting right now. If I
You're
put
not
this
happy.
pen on paper and write some words, that would do anything for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I'm sure it
It
does,
doesn't.
but no.
It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't. But it's like becomes part of like. I think we're getting into something that's like a little like, I don't know what the word is, but it's like a void.
Yeah,
I think that
amorphous. It's hard to.
I think there's like I'm gonna call it a void. It's not as sad as that,
Yeah.
but I think there's like a void
Mhm.
in a person or in me that's like that feels like I'm working through it when I'm like expressing my discontent or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah, but why is putting fingers
yeah,
on steel strings on a piece of wood? Like that doesn't make any much sense either. You know, if I ever had to explain that, like, so you just pick up this
yeah.
thing with the strings and you play notes and that makes you feel better. I'm like, yes, absolutely. They're like, well, which notes do you play? All of them. I don't know. Some
Oh,
C's, some G's.
these
Somehow that feels good. Like, yeah. And then I'll slide one around and it'll be out of tune and that'll feel even better. And like, okay, there's no logical reason that should be a relief, you know, mechanically or emotionally, like sound that there's that. But I
yeah.
think stuff just, you know, you come up with a practice or a place of respite where you can kind of reset your internal sort of clock and be like, okay, now I'm good. Now I'm reset here.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I
great.
definitely don't feel. I don't feel like playing music doesn't make me go. It's not like a healer. Like I don't go like I was sad and then I played a song and then I feel better.
I've done
But
that. I've done that. I've played a song and felt
yeah.
better. I don't know.
But like I never play a show, for example, and then like feel like like I did it. Like I never play a show and feel like we did it.
Really?
I'm always just like I always feel like very kind of like it was almost there, and it's not about like the performance or like the skill or whatever. It's just like you can never. I don't think you can ever get that feeling of satisfaction from that kind of like because it's flawed, right? Because you're actually like just sharing your feelings, and I don't really think of myself as a sharer, so it doesn't feel
Oh,
right to me. Um,
are you saying
like I really don't.
are you saying you can't
Yeah,
get no satisfaction?
I can't get no. I am saying that.
Well,
It's a.
well, it,
I'm in a.
it's very funny though because again, like I say, how stilted and weirdly like robotic I am, or I like can't write lyrics, but
Mm.
but in the sense of playing live, I think it was funny too because we did play together. I was a member of your band, and after the show, I always remember I feel like we were always on different pages. If we didn't start on different pages, we certainly were on a different page by the time the show was over. Regardless of the amount of inebriation that was occurring at that particular
Yeah,
time, but it still felt like I was like, that was awesome. I always had the feel because I was just like, there was that I don't know, that sense of like, okay, here's your team, here's, you know, it was a bit of a team sport kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to pass you the ball, you pass me the ball, we're going to get over there, and we did it. And we get to the end, and it's like, fuck yeah. That was the amount of mistakes were forgettable.
minimal. Yeah,
We
yeah,
didn't fuck up the whole entire thing, or even if we did, it was still like, well, that was fun. Like, I had a great time. We'd all played mostly at the same time and mostly the same notes in the same
yeah.
key, but it was, yeah, I definitely needed that. I think the live, and maybe it was almost just like you know, looking at within my own sort of character, I think I have a lot of people pleasing, and I think that's a thing of like they all clapped, they like me. I feel relieved from my impending internal sense of
Yeah,
self doubt and
yeah. Yeah.
worthlessness. I felt
We did
worthwhile.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone clapped and looked at me at the same time as I looked at them, and that was great. Wasn't that awesome? But yeah,
yeah,
who knows? It's
yeah. I don't even know what would be for me. Like, what would be like fulfilling. But
Isn't that what it's all
not. I mean,
about?
not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the thing. Like like I'll always play. Like I love playing. Like I love
Yeah.
playing like anywhere. And so I obviously enjoy it. But after I'm not like. I think I just don't like to talk about it. Like I think when
Fair
I'm
enough.
done,
Yeah.
I just like a couple months ago I played. There was like a small like coffee shop here in town, and I was like, I'm gonna play, and I'm not gonna tell like any of my friends or family, and I'm just gonna go. So I just like showed up, and I was like so bad, like because I was trying like to work out this new song,
Yeah.
and I was like really bad, and I was really messing up, but I also was like kind of trying to make like these two people laugh, and they were German, and they were like not sure what was happening, and the sound was bad, and I just after the show I just was like like I was bummed because it was so bad, and I was like, man, I really like my musicianship was like, and then I was also bummed because I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like I'm like playing, but like 2 hours later, I was like kind of like high off it because I was just like I love playing. Like I just love playing. I just love the experience. Like I was like I love that I really fucked up, and people.
Did the Germans come up to you and so we see you are playing music.
Yeah.
Why do you do this? You're obviously not very good. This is your first time that your mom has allowed you to leave the house with this instrument, I see?
Yeah.
We notice you have wearing a shirt that does not fit you, and the color is very off for your skin tone. What is the reason for this?
Why
do you do this?
Why do you do this? And I said, I don't know why. Yeah, it is the thing, right?
It's exciting. It's exciting to put yourself out there. I think that's what gets, especially for me as I get older. I think I've lost a lot of just the nervousness of just existing. Like just existing was really scary and hard to do, and going about my life and talking to somebody at the supermarket would just destroy me emotionally for some time. But then I would through the many decades, that I've gone through and played all these shows and talked to all these different people, I can just I found that acceptance within myself of like, this is just who I am. If I can do this and I can do this in some way that doesn't cost me a lot of money, if I can play music and just live in the world and figure out how to like go around doing this, like I've yet in my life to pay anybody to play music, but I almost feel like I would, or I should play it because I get so much out of playing music. Like I understand those like high school pay to play whiskey and Roxy sort of shows, but I made it through high school never having had to do that. But now even into my older age, it's like, I get it, you just got, I guess you pay to practice, you can pay practice space, I mean, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's just, I get so much out of it. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been sort of like, I mean, you said a lot of things that really, because I thought I have played at the Whiskey, like sell the tickets and stuff, like with an old band, and it's like, I think you have to do that to be like, wow, I never want to fucking play the Whiskey again.
Yeah.
Because it's such like a shitty,
it's demoralizing.
Like it
hurts.
Yeah, that's just not the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like why is it
it's like, give me $5 and you can throw this basketball at the hoop. Like, why? Well, because it's a cool basketball hoop. Everybody used to just do it. Here, just give me $5. You're like, okay. Like, oh look, you missed the basketball. Okay, cool. Thanks for $5. I'm like, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, exactly. And also like all those bands, like to play at the Whiskey at that time is like, it's your family coming and it's people you go to it's just like, it's pathetic. Come on, get out of here. Yeah.
Or what? Yeah. What about the ones where you play and then you have to write down like who are you here to see? Like, oh, I'm here to see this band. Like, okay, cool. And they like write down, and then you see how many you sold for that night, and it's tough. I get it. It's hard to run a venue, but that's a fucked up way to do it. Like, just split.
I mean, I will say the equivalent now is like an Instagram type thing where like booking agents will be like, or promoters will be like, yeah, what's your number? And it's just like,
I don't want to do this conversation.
I'm just like really don't like Instagram, and I really don't like sort of like
commodification of popularity.
Yeah, I really hate the idea of like being like I have a hard time just being like, hey, come to my show, but I do it. Otherwise, I'm just like, do I exist if I don't if I don't remind you? Yeah,
if a musician doesn't promote himself on social media, it doesn't really exist. It's like the tree falling in the forest. Yeah,
exactly, totally. But then there's also this thing of like, after you play a show, you're sort of supposed to be like, here's videos other people took of our gig last night, and you're sharing it, and you're like,
thanks everybody for coming out. That was an epic show. See you next time. Don't forget to sign up for our mailing list and like and subscribe.
And I'm not trying to like hate on it.
Oh yeah.
But I see it and I'm just like, like I like watching their video, but I'm just like, I just like can't like what does it mean? Like, do you remember the Royal Tenenbaums movie?
Oh, yeah.
There was like a scene, I forget any of the characters' names, but it's where like
I think Gwyneth Paltrow. Royal. She was her name was Royal.
Yeah. Gwyneth Paltrow was like to Owen Wilson was like, do you send like book clippings, like reviews of your book to my mom? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what it is, where you send like reviews of yourself and you post them and you're like, I exist. People think I'm this. And it's like, I like, it seems I'm just waiting for that to die. I know it's going to die. I'm just like waiting for that all to die.
You don't enjoy justifying your existence and comparing yourself to
No.
others?
Yeah, but I think you have to justify it in other ways by making a mockery of it all. You're like, aren't I clever?
Oh. Oh.
No, I just wish.
It's all a mess.
I think.
At the end of the day, the best part though now is that nobody makes any money from it. So really, like
Yeah.
taking, at least there used to be some type of financial incentive to promoting or doing something. You know what I mean? Like having some enthusiasm would net some kind of financial reward. And now at this point, it's just like it's all sound and fury signifying nothing. And you're like, oh God, that's horrible. So wait, so your big numbers on your social followings got you big numbers on your streams. Okay,
Yeah.
so your social following, do you get any money for that? No. Okay, but your streams, you're going to make money on that? No, I don't make any money on that. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So then your big numbers on streams and make big numbers at the clubs or at the venues you play? Like,
Yeah.
no, not really. Well, do you sell a lot of merch on through your thing? Like a few. Okay, but there's so much markup and it's the shipping and the cost of the third party.
Yeah, what are your t-shirt sales? Yeah.
So, but everybody else makes money off of you, right? Like Instagram makes money from you. I would assume so. Yeah, they sell ads when people look at my stuff. Okay, and then the streaming company, they make money off you. Yeah, and then the merch. Yeah, well, the merch, you got to buy the merch at full price. It's expensive, you know. And if you have worse off, you have a manager or an agent or somebody that also takes money from whatever small pie of money there is, and then you go, okay, well, hey, man. Why are you asking for so much money? Can you just come play my show for free? Like, well, that's the only thing I have to do is to play a show. Like, I can't make money doing anything else. But if you ask for money for a show, you're a dick. Like, hey guys, can you come out to my show? It's $20. Yeah. I mean, could you put me on the list? I'm like, wait, no, that. Right, I mean, there's the one ticket. That's all I get to do. I do everything else just for the one ticket.
Right. I think I believe. I like really try and not like think about money when like doing music, because it's just like never happened for me in that way, and it's not gonna happen. And I just think like why even think about, like, you know, sometimes you have to think about money. Like if I'm playing with some guys that are taking time off work to do a show, and I'm like, okay, you guys can have all of the, you know, $150 that we made from the show or whatever, but like I think I just like really like you, like I just really enjoy playing with other people, and I enjoy the laughs, and I enjoy like the frustration, and I like, you know, there's other ways to make money, and if you think like your music is the way to do it, like I just don't think I also don't even think that's good for your music to be like, this is my main gig is to like sit around and make this music. It's like, that's like so Danish. Like people here are just like, I make sculptures. Yeah. Like that's my job. And I'm like, that's your job? Like, yeah, the government pays me to make sculpture. I'm just like, that's a great gig. Nice.
Hey, there you go. Can I buy your sculpture? Like, no, they're not for sale. You can,
and you couldn't
afford it.
You could not afford it. Yeah, you couldn't afford it.
Okay. But whatever, I don't need to sell them. I make enough just making them. I don't actually have to sell them. I could just leave them around.
That's why, like, this is probably not a smart thing to say, but that's why when I see people talking about like Spotify make people pay like blah blah blah, and I'm just like, why? Like, Spotify, it sucks. Like I like Spotify because I can, like, you know, hear whatever I want, but like if you're an artist, like, and you have an issue, just like don't put your music on. I'm just like, everything sucks. Like,
yep.
I mean, so
yeah.
I mean,
that's a good place. That's a good place to end.
Hold on. I also want to say having a mailing list sucks.
Oh yeah.
And also, yeah, that's why I just think we'll end here, but I think I have a vision sometimes of like the future, and it's just like people playing like shitty coffee shops and like trying out songs and just being like, this is my song. And you can't find it on fucking Spotify or like whatever. You can't MP3 me of blah, blah, blah. But I just think I think there will be like a comeback of like really authentic, like shitty, like teenagers playing like acoustic guitars, and it's gonna be. I think that's like gonna come back around someday, and I look forward to that.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
I love it.
Amen. Piss on my leg, Randy.
Hey.
Piss on my leg.
Oh
Yeah.
no, it's good. It's good. Yeah. Well, it's been great to catch up. I know it's been a minute.
Yeah.
This feels like the wrong time to ask you to plug things if people want to follow you after. I normally at the end of the episode say, "Cool, where can people go to find out more about you if you'd like to know more about Devon and his music and support him in any kind of way?"
Yeah. I do want to say, I do want to plug. Right. You can listen to me on Spotify. Follow me on Instagram. Yeah. No.
All right. Well,
I don't know.
Thank you, Devon. Yeah. I appreciate it. I'll try to. I'm gonna do a Google search, and everything that comes up on your Google search, I'm gonna put into the show notes. So if you're listening to this at home, go to the Google go to those show notes.
Google me,
and then you will see what happens when you Google Devon Williams, and that's what will be below. I don't know either. We're gonna find out.
And then I'll respond by Googling you, and I'll be like,
I am very Googleable. Which I don't know if you know this or not. Like I tell people what my name, and everyone laughs because Randy Randall is a ridiculous name to have. And then I tell them that I play guitar, a lot, or I've done that for a lot of years. And then they ask for the name of the band, and they say no. They say New Age. That sounds great, or No H. That's great. And I say, yeah, well, you can Google it. You'll see me at a much thinner, younger version of myself doing things on the internet. It's fun.
But actually, if you Google Devon Williams, you won't find me first. You'll find like really strong football players.
Oh, good. That's not you?
Yeah.
I thought you moonlighted. That's why I invited you on the Hyphenate. I thought you were a strong football player and a skinny musician. I didn't know.
No, that's my first album with the football player.
I see. Okay. We didn't even get into your whole sports career. Okay, next time.
No,
you have to come back on again.
Next time.
That's it.
Hyphenate 2.
This time it's personal. This time it's football.
Yeah. Yeah. Football, which is actually soccer here in Denmark, but whatever.
So hyphenated. Yeah.
It's so hyphenated.
Yep. That's so hyphenated. That could be our 90s spin-off show.
You need a graphic.
Yeah. Hyphenate yourself. All right. Radical. Yes. Devon Williams. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. Thank you everybody for listening. How fun is that? What a great guy. I'm excited to see what Devon does next, what new music he will have coming out in the future. And, the future's so bright. Got to wear shades. Radical. I will see you on Monday when I will speak to Mr. Aaron Farley, and we will discuss all things pertinent and mostly impertinent, and, try to keep it as trite as we can be. But if you got any questions, comments, concerns, find me on Instagram at Randy S. Randall on the Instagrams. And you can always write hyphenate halftime at gmail.com for any other concerns, queries, comments, questions. Hyphenate halftime at gmail.com. That's where you can find us. And we will be back on Monday. Have a good weekend.
And he took my cheeks, and he's like, you have so much energy. And he was like, you need to harness your energy. And I was like, okay.